Shall we get started? Great, let's do it. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Buenos dias, bonjour, whatever salutation suits your fancy on this November day. I'm Sandy Unone, here with you today, hosting the Collectibles, the Lesbian trading card reading series, sponsored by Headmistress Press, the illustrious press that lifts the voices of lesbian, bi, trans poets. I am absolutely overjoyed today to be able to welcome and be able to listen to the poetry of Constance Merritt, card number 13, and Constance will be sharing also the work of Emily Dickinson, card number 38. I want to welcome one and all to this truly unique monthly reading series. It's the vision of the wonderful, wonderful poets at Headmistress Press, Mary Miriam, Risa Dannenberg, and Rita Mae Neese. I want to remind all of you that you can purchase these unbelievable trading cards, as well as any of the Headmistress Press titles at the Headmistress Press website. And for those of you here with us in the Zoom room today, we'll have links to Headmistress Press's website for you to purchase any of these delectable trading card series. I have all of them, so why not? Why only have one when you can have many? And the holidays are just around the corner. They would be very delicious stocking stuffers, and or I say get a set of the cards and pair it with a book. Get the set that has Constance's card and pair it with Constance's book for a great gift. Well, there you have it. Let me move now to our featured reader. I'm going to read from Constance's card with a little bit of ad lib, of course, of my own. So Constance Merritt, card number 13, was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas in 1966 and educated at the Arkansas School of the Blind in Little Rock. She earned a PhD in creative writing from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Merritt's first book, Protocol for Touch, from the University of North Texas Press, 2000, was awarded the Vassar Miller Prize in Poetry. Two additional collections, Blessings and Inclemencies, and Two Rooms, were published by LSU, by Louisiana State University Press, in 2007 and 2009, respectively. Her poems, described by Eleanor Wilner as, quote, tender and austere, formal and intimate at once, have been published widely, including in Poetry, Plowshares, and The New Yorker. In 2001, Merritt received a grant from the Rona Jaffe Writers Foundation and a fellowship from the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University. From 2002 to 2005, she served as the writer in residence at Sweetbriar College. In 2013, Merritt earned her MSSW from the University of Louisville. She currently lives in Louisville with her wife, the academic librarian, Maria Arcardi. For me, I love the card. I love the human being even more than the card, because Constance has been a friend of mine since our days back in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a joy. I'm a little choked up. It's a joy to welcome Constance and her exquisite, exquisite poetry to the reading today.
Thank you, Sandy. I love that I'm card number 13. Just saying. So
it's my lucky number.
Yeah,
it's actually my lucky number.
And tomorrow's my birthday, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to start actually with a little Dickinson, and set that bar, and then I'll follow, and we'll go from there. What I love about Dickinson, one of the things I love is, and it's been a while since I've read her, but like, you have the poems that everybody reads and everyone knows. But if you just like start paging through, there's just like all these poems that you see and you say, oh, wow. And it's like you're finding something new all the time. During the pandemic, one of our joys, especially Maria's joys, but mine as well, is that we got a window bird feeder, and then we got a deluxe bird feeder. And so we've really been enjoying the birds. So I'm going to start with some Dickinson bird poems. And Sandy, I would love if you rang a bell for me at like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, just so I kind of know where I am. Otherwise, I'll have
to
lady tell me. All right.
All right, I'll ring the Nebraska bell. Thank you, in 10 minutes or so. Sure.
Sounds great. The Robin. And I'm reading from like a non-canonical Dickinson that I happen to have on my iPad. Maybe it's one of those Grove little dollar books. So things have titles. The robin is the one that interrupts the morn with hurried few express reports when March is scarcely on. The robin is the one that overflows the noon with her cherubic quantity, and April but begun. The robin is the one that, speechless from her nest, submits that home and certainty and sanctity are best. We'll skip the bluebird. April. An altered look about the hills, a Tyrian light the village fills, a wider sunrise in the dawn, a deeper twilight on the lawn, a print of a vermilion foot, a purple finger on the slope, a flippant fly upon the pane, a spider at his trade again. An added strut in Chanticleer, a flower expected everywhere, an axe shrill singing in the woods, fern odors on untraveled roads. All this and more I cannot tell, a furtive look you know as well, and Nicodemus' mystery receives its annual reply. And Nicodemus was the one that asked Jesus, can a man be born again? So I think that's the reply, April. Let's see, scrolling. Oriole secret. The Oriole. One of the ones that Midas touched, who failed to touch us all, was that confiding prodigal, the blissful Oriole. So drunk he disavows it with badinage divine. So dazzling we mistake him for an alighting mine. A pleader, a dissembler, an epicure, a thief. betimes an oratorio, an ecstasy in chief. The enchants of an entire adder for his decamping wants. The splendor of a Burma, the meteor of birds, departing like a pageant of ballads and of bards. I never thought that Jason sought, but then I am a rural man with thoughts that make for peace. But if there were a Jason, tradition suffer me, behold his lost emolument upon the apple tree. I love her diction. She has the best lexicon. Like I had to ask, what's badinage? I was like, what's that? And Maria told me. And if you don't know, you can figure it out.
It's witty conversation.
Oh yes, witty conversation. See, that's it. A shadow or to shadow. I dreaded that first robin so, but he is mastered now, and I'm accustomed to him grown. He hurts a little, though. I thought if I could only live till that first shout got by, not all pianos in the woods had power to mangle me. I dared not meet the daffodils for fear their yellow gown would pierce me with a fashion so foreign to my own. I wished the grass would hurry, so when it was time to see, he'd be too tall, and tallest one could stretch to look at me. I could not bear the bees should come. I wished they'd stay away. In those dim countries where they go, what word had they for me? They're here, though. Not a creature failed, no blossom stayed away, in gentle deference to me, the Queen of Calvary. Each one salutes me as he goes, and I my childish plumes lift in bereaved acknowledgement of their unthinking drums. Oh, these has great words. So the hummingbird, a route of evanescence with a revolving wheel, a resonance of emerald, a rush of cochineal, and every blossom on the bush adjusts its tumbled head, the mail from Tunis, probably, an easy morning's ride. Let's see. Then after much scrolling, we will come to a few more. Maybe. Well, there are some great sort of grief poems that seemed fitting for this time. Also, here's one called November, since we're in November and all. Besides the autumn, poets sing a few prosaic days, a little this side of the snow and that side of the haze. A few incisive mornings, a few ascetic eyes, gone Mr. Bryant's goldenrod and Mr. Thompson's sheaves. Still is the bustle in the brook, sealed are the spicy valves. Mesmeric fingers softly touch the eyes of many elves. Perhaps a squirrel may remain, my sentiments to share. Grant me, O Lord, a sunny mind, thy windy will to bear. Blue jay. Blue jays are kind of miraculous. All of our birds have names also. So the blue jay is called a sool. And then there's many other names, but maybe they're secret. I'm not sure. So it's so quiet now. I'm just, well, I want to read one of my favorite Emily Dickinson poems. So these are kinds of things that I just came on and I thought, oh gosh, I should read that. So here are a couple of my favorite ones. It would have starved a gnat to live so small as I, and yet I was a living child with food's necessity. Upon me, like a claw, I could no more remove than I could coax a leech away or make a dragon move. Not like the gnat had I the privilege to fly and seek a dinner for myself, how mightier he than I, nor like himself the art upon the window pane to gad my little being out and not begin again.
Here's my little bell.
All right. I should have brought my bell. I have a pretty awesome bell.
Kate Flaherty gave me this Nebraska bell.
Okay, well, all right.
All right.
I'm gonna read this last, maybe two more Dickinson, and then I'll read. I had been hungry all the years my noon had come to dine. I trembling drew the table near and touched the curious wine. 'Twas this on tables I had seen when turning hungry home. I looked in windows for the wealth I could not hope for mine. I did not know the ample bread, 'twas so unlike the crumb the birds and I had often shared in nature's dining room. The plenty hurt me, 'twas so new, myself felt ill and odd, as berry of a mountain bush transplanted to a road. Nor was I hungry, so I found that hunger was a way of persons outside windows the entering takes away. And mad scrolling to see if I can find a last Dickinson poem. Oh, there's one. What is it? Oh, nah. Till the end. Oh, this is nice. Till the end. I should not dare to leave my friend because if he should die while I was gone, and I, too late, should reach the heart that wanted me, if I should disappoint the eyes that hunted so to see, and could not bear to shut until they noticed me, if I should stab the patient faith, so sure I'd come, it listening, went to sleep, telling my tardy name. My heart would wish it broke before, since breaking then, were useless as next morning's sun, where midnight frosts had lain. So that's Emily.
Wow.
I think of that like when we think of just the pandemic and the way people die without the presence of loved ones, without the person they most want to see. So that was a poem. I'm gonna do kind of like we have trading cards, baseball. So I'm just gonna kind of bring my team along. And this is a old poem I wrote, The Mother's Seduction for Emily Dickinson. So you'll hear some of the language you've heard before. I christen you, my mother, and you, like her, refuse to give straight answers. She, silent, you, forever talking slant. And I've exhausted all questions except the one to which I am answer and therefore cannot form. You deal your words like blades or cards, and to keep the game mysterious, you won't divulge the rules. I never win. And if I come to you because much time has passed since my last meal, you tell a tale about a crumb that you and Robin feast upon, leaving some for charity. I know it is not true, still I believe. There's a pair of us, you say, don't tell, and I will keep your secret much too long, because the racket of this living shames me too. The guiltless are not innocent. I want to lose this innocence, leave all guilt behind, learn to live loudly, become someone, but you won't tell me how. I cannot live as you before me did. It is another time, another place, a different set of circumstances, a different work to live. We have no rest to give each other. The leaves, they turn and turn. With tenderness, I touch you out of sleep. I wake to your wild words. Much madness is divinest sense. We cannot reach each other now, though I too dwell in possibility. Escape is on my tongue. Still, I can no more run away from you than crawl into your arms. And this is just kind of like a setup of like, a heart. Thank you. Of my teammates. Sedimentary Blues, after Liesl Mueller's After Whistler. There are children who should have been stones. Instead, they are put to suck at the cool dugs of water and wind, where they are broken down into sediments again, silts and clays and loams, and carefully recast in human form. Something goes wrong with the heart. When the other children enter the long summer grasses in pairs, from a distance they watch them go, but soon return to their own solitary pleasures, a passion for knowledge or things, for doing some one thing well. They are the natural scholars teachers love, that parents love to brag about, although they don't pretend to understand what God has lodged with them, mysterious mute creatures, all memory and cold fire. While young, the stone children are able to bear their flesh with a measure of equanimity and ease, for then they still believe in its perfecting, some intense heat or pressure brought to bear that will change the body's shale into a slate upon which time will write its crystal names. A poem about Brahms, perhaps. Down the long aisle, his Clara on his arm, no bridal march, but German requiem. A mannequin with a somewhat narrow heart sits at the piano trying the keys in antiquated locks, frozen for years. A conscious classicist of abstract forms, a relic from some prehistoric age. Miracle he should have a heart at all, albeit made of ice. And yet wonder that an instrument so small should have such weight. It pulls his torso low over the keys. He tries the various keys, the black, the white. The familiar rhapsodies refuse to fly. Nothing opens. He tries and tries the keys. Triolet, after Gerard Manley Hopkins. He swore he would not look at stallions, but stallions galloped through his dreams, their flanks in sun-gashed gold, vermilion. He swore he would not look at stallions, but they were everywhere, battalions strong, crossing the quad, inquire at games. He swore he would not look at stallions, but stallions galloped through his dreams. Oh, this is fun just for my mom, since she's my mom. Too late, my mother tells me. Those deep lines on your forehead come from frowning up and reading all the time. But for them, you still look young. Your nighttime sleep is your life and strength. You lose your best rest sleeping in the day. And anyway, if like you say, there's no money in it, I wouldn't waste my time. The book I write will sell. Best thing, you come on home. The people I come from have always known books and whatnot run some people crazy, that the mind's a dangerous thing, best left alone, like blues for some, like sex, like heroin. All right, here's a confessional. When I was at Warren Wilson, I wanted in the worst way to work with Ellen Bryant Voigt. And I was not granted that desire. So that desire took on a life of its own. So this is a poem written out of that. Saber-Tooth Blues. And at some point, I think she called me a pussycat. So anyway, and she liked to pet me. Pussycat, but only to you, bright tiger. I unzip my coat of mail and turn sloping underbelly to fire of fang and sun. Pussycat, but only in the certain grasp, the gripping force of you, your passion's steady blaze. Terror wrangled with desire, and I proffered you the bird caged in my throat, that you might teach it sing, the deep, the pure, the keen, and wild blood note. Poems are so strange, aren't they? Yeats in Love. How's the time, Sandy, you know?
Well, I could listen to you forever, but how about a few more?
Okay, a few more. Trying to decide. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's go this way. We just skipped Yeats in Love, but he's nice. He buried himself in sand, and that's when he learned about desire. So I recommend Yeats, and I recommend that poem of Yeats in Love. But we're moving on. So my friend Eleanor Wooler and I used to like write poems back and forth kind of as a call and response, and we had a lot of fun. And so I'm going to read one of those poems. So this is a, gosh, what are they called? Glossa, and it uses 4 lines of somebody else's poems as the last lines of 4 stanzas, and it also uses one of those lines as a rhyme. So Eleanor's lines are, the voices have faded with the dusk, and night has come like a curtain dropped over the brave show of the day, the fading certainties of afternoon. And that's from Transactions in a Field That's Overgrown. To keep from flagging at their oars as the last light drains into the sea, the men are singing as they row, No more the mighty deeds of war, but the longed for pleasures of home. Hot baths, rich wine, soft beds, and the musk of their own women. All day you cried out from below. Quiet now, you sit and watch the waves, your silly task reprieved. The voices have faded with the dusk. Apollo's priestess, general's whore, you keep apart from the other slaves. Is it pride you feel as you watch him move among the men giving orders? And when you writhe in passion's arms, all honors, all distinctions stripped away from you, from him, do you not love the dumb and dying flesh? Regret arrival, the death cry trapped in the throat, and night come like a curtain dropped. Like you, we know how the story ends, and still like you, we turn the page, tracing the plot to its bitter end in loss and the poverty of dust. The reading, once so natural, now comes hard. We falter, question why. As we watch you walk that longest mile from chariot to palace door, where nothing can stay those hands over the brave show of the day. The hands of the clock say 4:30 when we shift in our ergonomic chairs. An hour ago, attention frayed. Now self-doubt swarms like angry wasps as ambition mocks what the day has made. It's just the going of the sun that wakes the infant of the soul. Quick now, sugar before she howls, chocolate, bourbon, scotch, against the fading certainties of afternoon. And that was sort of Cassandra. And then let's read, not that. Not that. Backing away is gone. Okay, where's idolatry? The wheel. Well, I'm going to look at a table of contents, and I'm going to read 2 final poems, and then I'll get to listen to people, and that'll be way much funner. Way much funner. Yes, that's very poetic. Way much funner.
I'm sorry.
You can laugh. Where's the poem I'm looking for?
I was laughing.
Maria's laughing too. Oh, the afterlife. The afterlife. 29. Okay. Afterlife, page 29. There's always an afterlife for all of us. So here we are, the afterlife. Like not quite remembered dream, that lush desire transfigured world recedes, leaving us not naked, but modestly arrayed in the ruined theater, falling stone from stone. The seats are empty, the stage is bare, unflattering, though not unforgiving, is the light. The words with which we greet each other, if we greet each other, as yet unwritten, we turn the pages over, searching silence, the first tentative syllable of song. Now that you shall be no God, and I shall not be changed. And the last poem is I Was at It, as if I had invented it. What's the last poem, Maria?
I don't know. I don't know what book you have there.
I have 2 rooms. This is 2 rooms, by the way. I don't know if I said that, but that's what I'm reading from. Oh, I'll read a different last poem. How about that? I will read a poem called Sieve. I hope. There we are. Sieve. Light In autumn, that stand of trees in leaf, blossom, bare, flare of bone, that woman's wing beneath brief moment, fingers splayed, your outstretched palm, fraying heart, an errant strand, hairbrush mislaid, a river braided gray, brown, gold. You catch it up as if to drink. Quicksilver spills from your hand. Thank you.
Wow. Folks, if you would feel free to unmute yourselves so we can bestow an avalanche, a waterfall
Woo!
of adoration for this reading.
Thank you.
Wow. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Really
Wonderful.
Extraordinary.
Fantastic.
Extraordinary.
So much.
Thank you. Wow. Yes, I am shaking my head. I am astounded at what we've heard. You've been listening to Constance Merritt, card number 13. Read from her work and the work of Emily Dickinson. And just let me share Emily Dickinson's card with you, and then say a few more things about Constance's work. So Emily Dickinson was born in Massachusetts in 1830 and lived in her affluent parents' home in Amherst until her death in 1886 at age 55. She carefully transcribed 800 of her 1,775 poems, many scribbled on scraps of paper, and then arranged into 40 fascicles and hid them in a trunk. The dozen poems that were published in her lifetime were mangled by editors. After her death, other writing was erased or destroyed. Her large circle of friends and correspondents included Susan Huntington Gilbert, with whom she shared a love that Lillian Faderman describes as romantic friendship. Paula Bennett notes that Dickinson's imagery is often clitoral, suggesting an awareness of lesbian sexuality. Jewels, gems, pearls, peas, berries, nuts, buds, crumbs, and beads. Dickinson is one of America's greatest poets, but most scholars are unwilling to mention her great love for Susan. Much has been made of Emily's white dress and seclusion, but in her loving obituary, Susie wrote, "To her, life was rich and all aglow with God and immortality."
Mm.
So there you
Wow.
have Emily Dickinson. Yes, right off of the card number 38. All the more reason. These, I can't emphasize enough how pithy and wonderfully researched these cards are. The fronts of the cards are fabulous, but the backs of them are equally as exquisite. And the cards can be yours, my friends. Or why not send them to a beloved? Yes, indeed. So we are here. Thank you, Emily Dickinson. Thank you, Constance Merritt. I wanted to also mention, as I mentioned earlier, Constance's first book of poetry, Protocol for Touch, is you must add it to your collection. But you should have all her books. But here is her book from Headmistress Press, Blind Girl Grunt, the selected blues lyrics and other poems. It's really one of my favorite covers of a book. I love what the design. So I wanted to show you how you could pair beautifully the trading cards with the book and send them to someone. Go to Headmistress Press's website. Constance, that was extraordinary, and I would have gladly had you read for hours and hours and hours, and I may contact you for a private reading, for which I would be happy to pay you handsomely. Thank you so much. I hope we will get the chat to you, and you will get a chance to hear the comments that were made during the reading. Well, we are going to shift over to the open mic, and in all my extraordinary ways today, I am happy to welcome to our open mic 4 fabulous poets. I'm going to introduce each one as they read, but we will hear in this order from Gillian Ebersole, Liz Aul, Meaghan Quinn, and S.G. Huerta. First up is Gillian Ebersole, who is a poet, dance critic, and researcher, as well as a dancer and choreographer. She graduated from Loyola Marymount University with a dual degree in dance and English. Performed on stages in Los Angeles, Denver, and Paris, her choreographic work merges her love for language and movement. She is a staff writer for the London-based arts collective Backtrack, as well as guest columnist at the LA Dance Chronicle. Her poetry has been published by Attic Salt, Pomona Valley Review, Mayday Magazine, and Weasel Press. Her forthcoming debut chapbook, The Water Between Us, won the Charlotte Mew Prize from Headmistress Press and will be published in 2021. Congratulations, and take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to start with two poems from my new book, The Water Between Us. I've been writing a lot about grief, as we all are, I think, and so I wanted to share some of that with you. The first one is about a mentor of mine that passed away in April, and not being able to mourn his passing in the pandemic is such a strange thing. And so this is called On Philippa Foot and Virtual Memorials. If grief could be solved with a good book and a few moments spent standing in the rain, I'd be dragging whole libraries into this summer shower. I'm driving on the 405 and it is pouring. I visit 2 art museums in one day, wandering among abstract paintings so big my neck hurts. At this point, you're still alive. I wish I could be satisfied as a simple yellow streak of paint, but I want to be the whole fucking ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. I can hear you telling me to decide. I've never been indecisive, but it takes a whole lot of energy to put my mind to something. Don't you get tired? The next time it rains, I am rocking my knees at my chest in my twin-sized childhood bed. It has a princess canopy, for God's sake. You're dying and I'm sleeping in polka dot sheets. I find out you have cancer at 6 p.m. and you're dead by midnight. My friend calls me on the phone because she sees the news online. We cry silently for an hour. There's lightning outside my window and a pile of tissues in my lap. I make a list of people I wish died instead of you. The trolley problem is not as difficult now. I feel guiltier laughing than playing guillotine in my head. It's hard to imagine you resting now. Maybe the place where you are doesn't require sleep. I hope it rains there. And then this is a poem that I tried to write for many years. It's inspired by one of my favorite poets, Olivia Gatwood. She has a poem called Alternate Universe, in which I am unfazed by the men who do not love me. And I was like, how can I make this poem queer? And so it ended up being about my mother. And it's called Alternate Universe, in which I am unafraid of my mother. When a professor describes me as maternal, I don't listen. Instead, I wear fishnets and a red leather skirt to the next class. I seduce him with lipsticked confidence. I am 22 and I hate children. Once, my roommate crowned me the mom of our friend group, so I forgot the keys on purpose. A friend told me I would be a good mother, so I made an angry face at a baby in the grocery store. When my friends from high school get engaged, I learn ironsmithing, forge a sword, slice men with that sword. I taught myself to cook by playing with the stove. My mother says she wishes I were thinner, so I throw the scale out the window. She says there is no education to become a mom, so I leave parenting books under her pillow. She says I will never find a husband, so I start dating women. She says I talk too much, so I record myself screaming and set it as her ringtone. My mother says this is not the meaning of unafraid. When my mother says I should dress modestly and I buy lingerie, she calls this a phase. But left over from the other universe are hours and hours spent crying in a pillow, wishing she would tell me I'm beautiful. And here they are just hours. Here they are a floor-length sparkly gown. Here they are a day without counting calories. Here they are nights when I stay awake until the sun kisses my cheeks. Here they are a weekend when I forget to do laundry because I am laughing in a bar. Here I hand an hour to a woman as she staggers on Sunset Boulevard. I tuck one into my best friend's bed, send my brother a few in the mail. I do not make a scene on Mother's Day. I do not lie. I do not hide my tattoos. I do not call home. I do not come home. I do not ask for her opinion. My mother tells me she is tired, and she is tired. My mother tells me she wishes I were different, and I smile. I have made my body my home. And then just to switch it up a little bit, in the pandemic, especially recently, I've luckily broken my writer's block post-election. That stress was really taking a toll on me, but I've returned to writing in form, at least loosely, because it just gives me some structure in this time that is so unstructured. So I just wanted to read two loose little sonnets. The first one is called Subaru Sonnet. The highway home after my first queer kiss bent toward the sun. I wished for bravery and your hands, and I found them both. We kiss in a park facing the mountains, but I worry I am being watched. The stoners and skaters ignore us. One dresses like Jesus, white robe flapping in the half pipe. I panic. God has found me after all. I sit in your lap while Jesus wrecks. He tumbles in a heap of white. Maybe God is a dude at a skate park. My knees are bruised from divots in rubber mats. We follow a single cloud for 3 hours. Maybe God had her first kiss in a trunk. And then last sonnet, this one's called Sonnet for a Queer Wedding at Cana. I'm anti-sommelier, pro toes in grapes, wine making before midnight. Let's dress up in each other's blazers and make pretentious comments about aroma and texture until our edges blur enough to blend, until there is no visible difference between you and I. Our hands are branches and we are vines. Let's rewrite the parable so we grow entangled, plant seeds in fields of pleasure, bake loaves of bread with our yeast, find treasure in my head resting on your chest, hold each other as if we were crystal. There is a God out there for us, she laughs. These things are fragile, but I want them to break. Thank you so much.
Wow, so great. Gillian, fantastic. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the Charlotte Mew Prize through Headmistress Press. You're definitely got a book sale today from me. I can't wait. And right, too, there we go. Well, should we have an auction, Liz? Fantastic. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I love that Subaru sonnet. All of them, really. Great. Well, next up is, I feel like this is the Nebraska reunion a little bit, I have to say. Is my dear friend, a co-conspirator in poetry at times, pancake eating friend. We have a favorite pancake place that we like to go to. I won't give the name of it. Maybe I will later. Anyway, I'm going to read your formal bio instead of the gibberish that I'm saying now. It is always a joy for me to be able to introduce Liz All to any audience. Liz All is the author of Beating the Bounds from Hobblebush Books 2017, as well as several chapbook length collections of poetry. She is a mistress of chapbooks. She a very strong proponent of the chapbook. And she lives in Holderness, New Hampshire, and also treasures her complete set of lesbian poet trading cards. And I have no doubt that because she has a complete set, that she continues to purchase them for other people. She misses playing poker with her friends in person. She sometimes posts poems and other things made of words at her website, lizall@wordpress.com. Would you please welcome the irresistible Liz All?
Thank you. I believe I'm off mute. Can you hear me? Yes, a nod. Thank you. I put into the chat a link to a Google Doc that I hope grants you access. Sometimes folks find having some printed copy to go along with is helpful. And I don't have a special microphone or anything on this laptop, so I just wanted to catch you there. So it's a Google Doc. Hopefully you can get in if you want to. I have 4 poems. This one is right now called, it's called After a Downpour During a Drought. And sorry, pinks are little flowers. I might not want to touch the battered pinks beyond the glass, might not want to touch their petals bruised by the drenching I thought they needed, might stay here inside and untouched, untouching in my vigilant quarantine, might remain in this chair on this side of the slider forever. Our quiet road's dead end is muffled further by the mask of foliage fully filled in, July's privacy screen seething with chickadee chatter and the green murmur of shadows. The pinks are bent groundward in their plastic buckets. I don't want to know what it's like to be so bruised by need. The soaking I'd be willing to take such a punch for, the drought that would make me ask for it. Constance read, so great to be reading with you, Constance. So great to hear you read those Dickinson poems. A little this side of the snow, I wrote down on this poem, which is a November poem as well. And right now it's called Borrowed. We wake to the end of daylight savings. Now we will only spend it, spend the daylight down to its raw-boned barrel bottom, starting with this morning's first hard frost, shards sparkling on every still surface. The slender nasturtium stem, a volunteer lightly rooted in the succulent we brought indoors, has finally swooned in surrender, starting to tender its green over to the air's dry blade. It will be so dark so suddenly tonight. The darkness will show up early and surprise us. We were given a single hour when we slept and could neither hold nor appreciate nor fill it, not even choose to foolishly or brilliantly squander it. What would you give to that hour or accept from it? How would you spend or try to save it, even though you know the season of saving is over? What would you name such a fistful of minutes? How would it taste given to your conscious tongue? We want the new hour, but this one's always borrowed, a loaner we must return every spring when we start the fruitless saving once again. All hours are borrowed, of course, and this one too will be collected. You always have to give it back. So Constance has achieved 2 poetic milestones, of which I confess to being slightly jealous. One is she's on a lesbian poet trading card. The other is one of my students to whom I loaned her book years ago, and this was Protocol for Touch, had a line of Constance's poetry tattooed on her body. 2 things I still aspire to. I thought I would just have to mention that here. And it's killing me that I can't remember the line, which is the correct follow-up question on this. And I'm gonna hopefully find out soon. I also have a triolet today. And it's actually also dream related triolet. I don't know if you've ever shared a bed with someone who gets especially like twitchy when they start slipping off into dreams, and if they have a hand on you, there can be a little electric twitch on you. That inspired this triolet. It's called A Message. Her fingers twitch against my wrist and tap a code into my skin. Since dreaming's caught her in its fist, her fingers twitch. Against my wrist, the lightest touch, a little kiss, as if her dream might draw me in. Her fingers twitch against my wrist and tap a code into my skin. And the last one is also for and about my dear Jeanette. This is called A Nest in the Palm of Your Hand. In this photograph, your grubby gloves removed, abandoned handless on the stoop, a brief interruption of your gardening, which I always admire for its rough and tumble, how the labor of it leaves you betwigged in the hair, dirt smudged, bramble slashed. But in this moment you pause, shed the gloves of roughness to knock at the sliding glass door where you have brought to show me what you found. An empty nest, small enough to sit comfortably in the palm of your hand, which you offer up first to me, then to the camera I point, strange, artful bowl, adorned with a puff of something white, as if the builder decorated the nest with a piece of cloud, a finishing touch, a flourish, a fancy. We're pretty sure this empty means finished, means hatched, not plundered. It's late enough in the season, we imagine, though really we know nothing but to notice and to show, notice and show the fragments and questions and nods and mysteries the world offers us, and also from time to time to show one another ourselves, to notice one another, to offer in our upturned palms some new piece, stray syllable of a word we're still practicing, or some other tender, partly built thing, something fragile and lasting, something that looks entirely improvised but isn't. Small miracle of grass and dust. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I don't have a vote as to who gets to be a trading card. But if I did, I would vote for you. Thank you. Whew. That's Liz All joining us from Holderness, New Hampshire. I will give the plug for the Pancake House nearby in Sugar Hill, Polly's Pancake Parlor. We have graced it there many a time. Have we written a poem about it yet? Have you ever written a poem about Polly's yet? Maybe we should work on that together. Now that would be a thing.
Over pancakes.
All right. Over pancakes. Go there and write the poem over pancakes. Maple syrup, of course. All right, folks. Next, we have Meaghan Quinn. And Meaghan Quinn is the author of Slow Dance Bullets from Route 7 Press, 2019. Her poems have been nominated for Best of the Net, Best New Poets, and the Pushcart Prize. Quinn has been featured in Pank, Mass Poetry, and NPR's Cape and Islands, and her work has been published or is forthcoming in Salamander, Prairie Schooner, Adrian, and elsewhere. The reason my ears pricked a little at Prairie Schooner, Meaghan, is we have a former editor of Prairie Schooner in our audience today. So it is without further ado that I most graciously and happily welcome Meaghan Quinn.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome, and I'm so glad to spend Saturday with everybody reading poems and listening. And Constance, as the feature, it was so beautiful to hear your work and the reading of the Dickinson poems you selected. I'm going to read from Slow Dance Bullets. Came out last July, and I'll read. The book mainly follows a relationship between two women that centers a lot on religion and addiction. So I'll start with two sonnets. Felony. Her lips are smushed on my shoulder asleep. Her lips are cold caves glinting with shadow. Her lips are holding the mumbles of dreams. Her lips are monarchs trembling with blow. Her lips are backpacks of knives and Red Bull. Her lips are apples clenched in jaws of dogs. Her lips now click their trilled wings still. Her lips are hell's barter with bodegas. Her lips are saltines crumbled on sheets. Her lips are sweet. They part like paper boats. Her lips are wounded, stifling a scream. Her lips are begging for the burn of rope. Her lips are hashish, smoking in the dark. Her lips are storms pelting the old ark. And the next one is a little sonnet, and it's called Nowhere. Nowhere. It takes place at the beach. The sky is a pinned up tent of circus stars. It's night. I hang from her neck. My gums bleed from the cold sea. We bob above water. Sharks shapeshift into mammoth forms under seaweed. I fear losing her even as I love her. Too many women have been taken in the night. They slip into the tides, blotted in a blur. She assuages my bleeding glums. Light rain muddies my skin, and we float under the drizzle, and I imagine us dying, going nowhere, 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 where nothing remains but nimble forms, shape-shifting into vigilantes, wet hair into an altar, red eyes, a line of heroin. Swimming, I listen for the call of the siren. Love the heart. Thank you. The next one is called Bees Responding to Overdose. Bees responding to overdose. Sometimes I watch honey as it puddles slow in a white light district at dawn, and the girl I love is there, down in the water-streaked streets. A quartet of bees hums over her, as though she is a comb of honey, rather than an opioid statistic rotting on the sidewalk. I imagine she is still in her childhood home, dressed like a funeral, wearing those black tights, bitching beautifully about her brother's collection of ammo, his lone gun parts resting against the stereo. Her hair in her eyes, she squints, thinking of the belt she forgot to wear that day. I have had to learn the hard way that really there is nothing poetic about death. No, not with the body under the ground and all, mouth slack, jaw ajar, holding the breath of dirt, but still death keeps ghosting across the page. It's true that the girl soldiered on for so long until the bees mistook her body for Rose. I'll read the last one, which ends in a treatment center for addiction on the Cape with a whole lot of women. April in treatment. The chick with 3 amber dots in her eyes reads my birth chart, shakes her head, then blowing smoke in my face, she says matter-of-factly, "Yeah, you're on your last life, girl." This is how treatment begins. Part of me is haunted. The other climbs closer to the cosmos. I start to smell rain again and realize that you can't really know rain until you've lost it. We blare future and sprawl our limbs across the Adirondack chairs after chore time. A pregnant chick plays volleyball in the backyard. Newport 100 dangling from her mouth. I've never seen someone grin so wide. Come night, I toss through the hours. I drag an old mattress into the crib room and branches scrape the windows as I sweat in a set of matching pajamas. My roomie smuggles a Ziploc of Folgers coffee in her bra because she misses the pouch of hope that so often nestled against her nipple, and I identify. Over and over, I identify. I start to eat food again. I walk the yard. Laughter comes and joy too. Thank you, everybody.
Wow.
Fantastic.
It's really exquisite. Exquisite. Thank you. Those sonnets. Wow. We're having quite a sonnet day today. I love it. Thank you, Meaghan Quinn. Everybody, if you have the resources, go out and buy these folks' books. We've been gifted quite a reading today. And we will end our reading today, the open mic, with S.G. Huerta, uses they, their pronouns. S.J. Huerta is a Chicana poet from Dallas. They are pursuing their MFA at Texas State University and currently live in Texas with their cat, Lorca. They are the author of the chapbook, The Things We Bring With Us, Travel Poems, from yours truly, Headmistress Press, available in 2021. And their work has appeared or is forthcoming in Serotonin Poetry, Emerge Literary Journal, the Daily Drunk Mag, and various other places. Would you please welcome S.G. Huerta.
Hi, everyone. It's making me nervous to follow all those great poets. That was awesome. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm going to be reading 4 poems from my forthcoming chapbook, The Things We Bring With Us. And the first poem is called The Things We Bring With Us. I named the book after it. The Things We Bring With Us. White strangers often give me money for traveling for work, for barely functioning while gay and brown, for writing poems about gayness and brownness, never explicitly. I accept the conditions. I mute my colors. I shove every bright thing away into a suitcase, fitting a lifetime into a carry-on. When told, I jump at the chance to leave, to experience marginalization elsewhere, to really have to take my pills in case I lose my mind too far this time from my sister's reach, to see if I can see a future, a wife, a job in another city, a city with light and lighter baggage. So the next poem I am reading, it takes place in the in between section of the travels. It's called Love Should Be Love. There is a coffee shop in Roswell, New Mexico, where we stopped along the way to Santa Fe, recommended by Karina, where I bought your iced latte, and later a postcard for your little sister, because I so desperately need her approval and yours. You felt safe enough to hold my hand in yours, icy, in that UFO museum, rows and rows of doctored photos, fakes, phonies. What if we could stay in that postcard, happy family of aliens, not standing out in Roswell or anywhere, not breaking back home? These next 2 poems, thank you, are from the last trip I took with my dad, the last time I saw my dad before he passed this summer. So these poems are super close to my heart. The first one, or the next one, is called A Day in the Vatican. You inherit nothing from your father apart from Catholicism and bipolar. You ditch the former and smoke the latter out. Meet where it began, formally, the first Holy Father buried below the basilica's altar, footsteps falling with your father's, following his path into the side chapel to say a quick Hail Mary or 2, his path to alcoholism that reveals itself upon leaving the basilica, approaching a vendor, buying 2 beers, downing them both while greeting 2 nuns. Dangerously close, Chad Davidson writes, as if there were another kind of nearness. The nuns respond in English, the beer is a normality, expected for the duo standing a foot apart, one smiling. Oh, I love the heart. Thank you. So this last one, I went to the Keats Shelley house, which was awesome. I love John Keats. The poem is titled 26 Piazza di Spagna, which is the street address of the house. John Keats' deathbed over and underwhelmed me. He didn't sleep or die there. The Pope ordered the original bed to burn to stop the spread of tuberculosis, Keats and his fears of ceasing to be. Walking around his room with my dad, neither of us coughed up blood. I ignored the signage, fucking tourist, and touched the comforter. It was green. I turned to my father, expecting a scolding. Where did he go? Back downstairs? I circled the tiny room again, blinded myself, making sure the sun still shone outside the small window. Love to nothingness does sink. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Wow, folks. Well, could we unmute and give all of our open mic readers today a rousing round of
Yahoo!
gratitude and
That
love.
was
Wow.
splendid. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.
Great.
Mm. I want to thank all of our readers in the open mic. We've heard from Gillian Ebersole, Liz All, Meaghan Quinn, and we ended today with S.G. Huerta. And I want to, of course, take us back to the illustrious beginning of our reading today, to our featured reader, Constance Merritt, card 13, like to flash the cards, sharing the work of Emily Dickinson, card 38. And a reminder that Constance's book from Headmistress Press is Blunt Girl Grunt, and it's just an extraordinary book of poetry, as you've all been witness to today from her reading. Well, I hope if you enjoyed yourself today, I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you only enjoyed yourself a fraction of as much as I've enjoyed myself, you will have had a grand time of it. And if that is the case, you will want to join us next month when featured in the Headmistress Press, the Collectibles Lesbian Trading Card Poetry Series will be card number 53, Alicia Mountain, sharing the work of card number 33, Hilda Doolittle, otherwise known as HD. That'll be on Saturday, December 19th at 12 Pacific, just in time for us to rush trading cards to you all for some of the holidays. A reminder, always check your time zone. I always say Pacific because I'm in the Pacific, 12 Pacific, 1 Mountain, 2 Central, 3 Eastern. Occasionally we've had someone over here from the Ireland and the UK, which is 8 p.m. over there. Always check your time zones. Again, please support Headmistress Press. We've heard from their authors today, and as you can see, it's extraordinary poetry. And in these times, it's so important to support the presses that are supporting the poets. So if you have some resources, please consider purchasing a book. Well, my friends, I'm Sandy Yanone, your host today of the Collectibles. In all the ways I've botched things today in my imperfections, I'm always very thrilled to be with you each month for the Collectibles, the Lesbian Poet Trading Card Series. I'm also the author of Boats for Women from Salmon Poetry, and I host Cultivating Voices live poetry Sundays on Facebook. And I say that because I would welcome any of you to join our group over there for a possible featured reading if you have a new book that's come out within a year of the pandemic, and join our open mic. It's been an absolute just pleasure to be with you all. And thank you again to the brilliance and vision of Headmistress Press for bringing us all together during the pandemic. I hope to see you next month.